When The Big Bang Theory premiered on September 24, 2007, nobody anticipated it would become a cultural phenomenon that would reshape television comedy for an entire decade. The show featured a talented ensemble cast whose chemistry, timing, and authentic portrayal of eccentric brilliance captivated millions worldwide. But what happens when the cameras finally stop rolling? What becomes of the stars who defined an era? Nearly 2 decades have passed since that first episode aired, and the transformations within this cast tell stories far deeper than anyone could have imagined. Stories of resilience, growth, personal battles, and the profound ways that fame and time reshape the human experience. Today, in 2026, these cast members look remarkably different from the bright-eyed actors who stepped onto that Pasadena set almost 20 years ago. Yet this visual transformation represents only the surface of a much more profound journey. Behind every change in appearance lies a story of perseverance, hardship, triumph, and the quiet strength required to navigate life in the unforgiving spotlight of international celebrity. This documentary exploration seeks to uncover those stories, revealing not just how these stars look today, but understanding the deeper narratives that shape their transformations and continue to define their lives. When The Big Bang Theory debuted, the television landscape was vastly different. Young actors carried themselves with the optimism and energy that comes from achieving a breakthrough role. They moved through the world with the untested confidence of people still discovering who they truly were. The women in the cast possessed that fresh, effortless beauty of their 20s and early 30s, while the men carried the intensity and physicality of young professionals still building their careers. These weren't yet icons. They were simply talented performers on the brink of an extraordinary journey, unaware of the magnitude of what awaited them. The show's premise was unusual for its time: intelligent, geeky characters portrayed with genuine affection rather than mockery. This authenticity required something special from each actor: the ability to find humor without condescension, to deliver rapid-fire dialogue with precision, and to create genuine emotional connections despite their characters' often socially awkward nature. These talented individuals rose to that challenge magnificently, creating something that would endure far longer than anyone anticipated. What the audience never fully grasped was the extraordinary burden that came with such rapid, overwhelming success. Each season brought increased expectations, longer hours on set, and the strange psychological experience of having one's face recognized everywhere on the planet. The pressure intensified with each award nomination, each viral moment, and each generation of young fans who grew up alongside these characters. For these actors, the experience was profoundly complex. They had achieved what most performers dream of: steady, high-profile work with genuine creative satisfaction. Yet simultaneously, they faced the peculiar curse of being forever associated with a single character. The line between actor and role became increasingly blurred in the public consciousness. People didn't see Johnny Galecki, they saw Leonard. They didn't see Jim Parsons, they saw Sheldon Cooper. This conflation of identity created a strange psychological space where the actors' own identities threatened to be consumed by the characters they portrayed. Beyond the professional pressures, these individuals were navigating the private struggles that everyone encounters: relationship challenges, family responsibilities, health issues, and the ordinary crises that define human existence. The difference was that their private pain was often fodder for entertainment news, their personal relationships dissected by millions of strangers online, and their vulnerabilities scrutinized through a lens of celebrity journalism that rarely prioritized compassion or context. Kaley Cuoco entered the show as a 21-year-old actress with modeling experience and genuine star quality. The girl next door was not merely a character description. It seemed to be who she authentically was. Her natural warmth, infectious laugh, and approachable demeanor made Penny more than just a comedic foil. She became the emotional anchor that audiences needed. Viewers rooted for Penny because Kaley made her real. Today, Kaley has evolved into something decidedly different. The transformation extends far beyond physical appearance. The bright, almost cheerful energy of her 20s has been replaced by something more sophisticated, a grounded presence that suggests someone who has been tested and emerged stronger. Her face carries the natural aging that comes with nearly 2 decades, but more notably, it carries the evidence of lived experience. Lines that bracket her mouth tell stories of struggles overcome. Her eyes hold a different kind of light, no longer the sparkle of youth, but the steadier glow of someone who has learned how to find meaning beyond the spotlight. Kaley's journey off-screen included a serious horseback riding accident that threatened her physical well-being, failed marriages that played out under intense public scrutiny, and the complete restructuring of her life to accommodate motherhood. She went from being the young, glamorous actress available for every event and opportunity to becoming a woman who prioritized her child and personal well-being above career advancement. This shift represents not a decline but an evolution, a conscious choice to define success differently. In 2026, Kaley works deliberately and selectively. She has producer credits on major projects, indicating she has leveraged her industry power not just for roles but for creative control and authority. She appears in public less frequently, moves through her life with boundaries that she clearly maintains with intention, and projects a quiet confidence that comes from internal certainty rather than external validation. Jim Parsons created Sheldon Cooper with such precision, such exact technical mastery, that audiences would spend years debating whether he was truly acting or simply being himself. The character required something extraordinary from the performer, the ability to maintain rigorous control, deliver rapid-fire technical dialogue with accuracy, and find the profound humanity within someone explicitly written to lack emotional understanding. Jim achieved this magnificently, earning 4 Emmy Awards and becoming perhaps the single most recognizable element of the series. Yet this very success came at a considerable cost. Maintaining that level of control for over a decade, keeping Sheldon's rigid posture, his precise speech patterns, his controlled emotional distance, required psychological discipline that undoubtedly bled into his personal life. The pressure to remain impeccable, to never break character in the public eye, to uphold the image of the brilliant but emotionally disconnected scientist who made audiences laugh without feeling. This created an internal compartmentalization that must have been exhausting. Jim also navigated this period dealing with his own identity in ways that the public largely misunderstood. He spent years keeping aspects of his personal life private, creating a tension between authentic self-expression and public persona. The heterosexual, romantically available image that the industry seemed to require of him created a dissonance with his lived reality that he would eventually resolve, but not without considerable personal struggle. By 2026, Jim has deliberately stepped back from constant visibility. His appearance reflects a man who has released some of the rigid control. His hair is styled with less precision. His clothing carries less of the careful curation it once did, and his face shows not just aging but also a certain softening. He takes on roles that genuinely interest him rather than chasing every opportunity. His public appearances have become rare, intentional, and bounded. In interviews, he speaks with a thoughtfulness that suggests someone who has spent considerable time understanding himself and has made peace with what he has discovered. Kunal Nayyar's journey represents perhaps the most complex transformation among the cast. As Raj, he embodied a character struggling with social anxiety, cultural displacement, and a deep longing for connection that resonated with audiences worldwide. Yet the irony was profound. To play someone caught between 2 cultures, Kunal himself had to navigate the space between his Indian heritage and his Western acting career, between the person he authentically was and the persona the industry wanted to create. At the show's beginning, Kunal was a charming young actor bringing vulnerability and emotional honesty to every scene. His scenes often became the emotional core of episodes, his struggles with social connection creating genuine pathos beneath the comedy. Yet as the show progressed, Kunal faced the peculiar burden of being exoticized, of having his character's insecurity treated as entertainment, of being perpetually cast as the other even within a show about outsiders. The humor that was once easy became complicated as Kunal grew more aware of how his character, however lovingly portrayed, still sometimes traded in stereotypes and cultural jokes that carried historical weight. This growing consciousness created internal conflict. He understood that the show's intentions were kind, yet he also understood that comedy about cultural difference, even affectionate comedy, still participates in the same systems that marginalize people. By 2026, Kunal has undergone a profound recalibration. His appearance is notably more simplified, less of the styling and grooming that once seemed integral to his image, more of a deliberate casualness that suggests he no longer needs to perform attractiveness for audiences. His public presence has diminished considerably, and when he does speak publicly, his words carry careful thought and apparent wisdom about personal boundaries and authentic living. He has shifted his focus toward projects that feel meaningful to him rather than merely career advancing, and his body language in public suggests someone who has found peace in being seen less, in controlling his own narrative rather than allowing it to be written by industry forces or media interpretation. Mayim Bialik arrived on The Big Bang Theory with an unusual background. She possessed an actual PhD in neuroscience, making her rare among actors in understanding, at least theoretically, the world her character inhabited. Her character, Amy Farrah Fowler, began as an almost antagonistic figure but evolved into the emotional center of the show's later seasons, particularly through her relationship with Sheldon. Mayim brought intellectual credibility to the role, but she also brought something else, a determination to be authentically herself rather than conforming to Hollywood's expectations of how women, particularly intelligent women, should look and behave. This principled stance, while admirable, made her a target for considerable public criticism. Every personal choice became the subject of online debate: her parenting methods, her health beliefs, her appearance, her spiritual practices. She became one of the few cast members whose personal life genuinely mattered to her fans and critics in ways that seemed almost invasive. The toll of this public scrutiny, while rarely spoken about directly, clearly affected Mayim. She has mentioned in interviews feeling isolated, doubting herself, questioning whether her choices were genuinely her own or whether she had internalized the constant criticism to the point where she no longer trusted her own judgment. By 2026, Mayim has consciously reclaimed her narrative. Her appearance is notably more aligned with her own values rather than external expectations. She dresses for comfort and meaning rather than aesthetic impact, carries herself with a calmness that suggests genuine peace rather than performed confidence, and her public engagement has become highly selective. She works on projects that genuinely interest her, hosts programs aligned with her values, and speaks publicly in ways that feel considered rather than reactive. The transformation isn't physical primarily, it's existential. She has stopped trying to be what others thought she should be and has become fully who she actually is. Beyond the primary cast, figures like Simon Helberg, Johnny Galecki, Melissa Rauch, and others experienced their own profound transformations. Simon carried the energy and extroversion that made Howard Wolowitz memorable. Yet this very performance energy made the transition away from the show psychologically difficult. By 2026, he has quieted considerably, focused primarily on film work and family, moving with less intensity and more intentionality through his life. Johnny Galecki, who served as the show's emotional anchor, faced unexpected health challenges in the early seasons and navigated his own relationship struggles under intense public scrutiny. Today, he has consciously moved toward a more private existence, taking